Science of the Southland 255. Woohoo. Uh, Jack is here. Jake is here. It is hard for me to type our names when I'm writing the recaps because I will write Jake and Jake or Jack and Jack sometimes because fingers and our names being too similar is weird. But nonetheless, neither of us are finally sick. Doc Shay's out having a good old time in the city of Atlanta. Uh, let's talk about some women's basketball. For one, Tech, after, well, Jake, we knew this day was eventually going to come. We saw the schedule. We knew something was going to happen eventually, just odds on, and it did happen. Tech has gone 0-2 in their last two games, falling in double OT to Virginia Tech 105-94, and then today, it was just about not even an hour ago, 69-60 against Louisville. I kind of gave the lead of my first discussion point of like it was coming eventually.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it. And oh gosh, I need to go into some results here to quote this, but if wins against particularly this Louisville team, even in years where they've been quote unquote down, which are rare because they've been quite
Yep.
good for quite a long time. I mean,
Yes.
shoot, they had what five figures of people in that arena today. They're well
Yeah.
supported. They're a good team. They've got a great pedigree. It felt to me like, well. I don't know. We can talk about Notre Dame prognostication in a minute, but it felt like this was like the week it might end.
Yeah.
In my head, just kind of knowing what was coming down the pipe. I think the Louisville one, being in their building, it's tough road. I'm sure they had travel snafus with the ice storm that
Oh, I'm
Atlanta or
sure.
snow
True.
and
True.
ice storm that
Yeah.
have gotten around here, and that hurts. And we'll talk about a certain event in the Virginia Tech game. But I'm saying all this to lead into I really wanted the Virginia Tech game.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think that sometimes we circle back to have narratives in our head. I think about listening on the radio. On rec radio to or they're like online streaming to Georgia Tech losing up at Virginia Tech um, in 2022. And since then, it felt like our position switched in the conference after that. They
Mm.
got hot to end the year. Georgia Tech kind of faltered down the stretch, didn't look at quite as good in the tournament as they had the year
Mm.
before to end
Yep.
the Lorella Kubai era. And just from a narrative sense, it would have been really good to have this over, Final Four, really deep tournament run type team that Virginia Tech has done since. And they've had a ton of turnover, coaching changes, personnel, et cetera, all that noted. But, just from like you want the pelt kind of thing. I
Yeah.
would have really liked to see us beat them. That said,
I see.
and we
I'm
can,
looking at the schedule here. I see your point. That
yeah.
Tech at that point they had beaten Syracuse, beat number 20 North
hmm
Carolina, held that North Carolina team to 38 points in that game. Beat
hmm
Boston College, beat
Oh,
Clemson, beat
that
Duke.
that
Yeah.
North Carolina game was awesome. By the way,
Yeah.
I think that's one of my like a core sport memory of just watching that game.
That seems like it's just the most generic Fortner defense ball kind of game of that era kind of thing. We beat
Mhm.
Duke in their building on a rescheduled game. We fall to North Carolina, number 5 North Carolina State by 11, and then yeah lose by 10 to Virginia Tech in Castle uh before playing back to back overtime games against Clemson and Notre Dame, and then kind of flipping falling down the stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see your point there. It's just like at that moment, it's like you could have had one extra big one there, and then we run
Yep.
into this weird stretch of games where it's like you go have a lot of either or, a lot of coin flip games we just don't get up. Anyways, that was 2022.
Yep.
Let's talk about 2024.
Yeah,
Or
and
25.
let's circle it back around. The game started weird. The game started weird on a procedural
Yes,
penalty.
yes. I forgot. This was an administrative technical free throw. 2-0
Yes.
lead Tech got before the game. I think they had chit chat shoot the free throws. If you don't know what an administrative technical free throw is, it's basically where like there's a pregame procedure a team hasn't met, whether or like something's wrong with the facility or like there's some broken equipment. I remember this happened in 2022 as well against Syracuse. Tech got to load my lot and shot a couple free throws because Syracuse's shot clocks weren't working at the time at tip off. So they got two free
hmm
throws, eventually got it working. It was all good. In this case, um, what was it? Virginia Tech didn't fill out their scorecard correctly or something before the
Yep.
game, is what we were told. And so Tech got, and because that's just one of the things you have to have down and ready before the game goes. If you're not ready, the other team gets free throws. And so when it was with 10 minutes left in the first quarter, Tech had a 2-0 lead, uh, which was not enough when it was all said and done. Why it was not enough when it was all said and done? we were playing pretty normally. Like we looked all right. I mean, all things considered. Second half, Danny Carnegie goes down with what looked like to be a hamstring injury and did not return in the game at all. And at that point, the Virginia Tech had done a really good job kind of stuffing her. She had not really gotten a rhythm whatsoever. She had been on the bench for a while. She was cold. And then look, whether it was it's ACC doesn't have to say many things about injuries, so we don't know if it's like technically a strain or a pull or what. Like we don't know what the technical term here is that we should be using. We just know it's a hamstring based on what we saw on TV. Um, but she was out the rest of that game. Tony Morgan also left for like a hot second with the calf thing, and she wasn't 100% throughout the game, the second half as well. Um, but once Carnegie goes down, it really that stuff goes down to kill because Tech had a lead. They had like a 10-point lead and just could not hold it. Virginia Tech, you could kind of, I think we both could feel this. We could feel Virginia Tech really starting to start
Yep.
punching in the bag as soon as we knew Carnegie wasn't coming back in. It's like we had some weapons there, but no one. It wasn't the kind of day where everyone was operating on full cylinders to stop them. Tech also hadn't played for a week going into this game, so we were cold, and Virginia Tech had a game coming into this game as well, which looking at every other sport where taking too much time off before you play seems like that matters. Uh, and so in the end, we just could not. Also, we couldn't defend the three. Tech played 7 people in this game in a double overtime game and still managed to basically outrun us when it was all said and done. They did so well in transition. And we just
Yep.
could not keep up with them when it was all said and done. We got saved by a Rusna at Augusta Knights A3 at the end of overtime, the first overtime
Yep.
period, to at least put it to a second, which was a cool moment. Like we needed her to hit a shot at some point, and she hit one on an offensive rebound, just barely threw one in. And I think that was just kind of the last gasp moment the team had, and then VTech just kind of
Yeah.
ran all over in that second overtime.
Yeah. It was pretty much all she wrote. After what, a possession or two, I think,
Pretty much, yeah. It felt like it
of
didn't take much for
the
them to win that one. Yeah, that second
yeah.
overtime it was like, oh, can we push you over once? Okay, that's it. That's all we needed.
Yeah. I think I do want to say this just to put it on the recording. Um, Virginia Tech should have won that game in regulation simply out of the procedural free throws are dumb. I know we benefited from them,
Yeah,
but I do want that out on the record. Like that's
fair.
not something that changes the game. I mean, maybe I'm sure
Right. That's not
every
a player.
story, every rule has a reason, right?
There's
But it
it's
seems like this is
Yeah,
dumb, you
it's
know?
not a player involved thing. It was not an on
Yeah,
court action that resulted in that happening.
yeah.
It was just an admin thing.
Yes, and that's a great way to put it. It's an on-court effect from a non-court action, which is silly.
Yep.
Of course, the Carnegie piece that's huge. I think we saw that today too in the Louisville game.
Hmm.
Losing your best scorer, maybe that turns into another bucket down the stretch against Virginia Tech or just
Something. Yeah.
a flow of game difference against Louisville. I
Right.
think is the bigger key thing. Like because obviously it doesn't. She's a good defender, but like it doesn't change inherently the defense. But if you're playing with a hand behind your back and lacking that scoring option, I think it's pretty clear.
I mean, yeah, not having your best scorer will
Yeah.
tend to do a lot, especially in college basketball too, where there's only so many scorers. It's not like the NBA where you can have 5 guys out there who legit could all put a three up. Like this is you
Yep.
got your main couple people. They're the ones that are going to do the brunt of the work for you, and we had to
Yeah.
we are still figuring out how to do this without her out there because in so many moments, granted we have not really had many close games at all this year, but still in so many moments where it's like, okay, they needed a bucket in some form or fashion. She was right there. She could pull up, hit a three, just get something underneath. She had so many different ways to solidify the offense and at least keep the game out of much more of a better resting heart rate for Tech that when she's not out there,
Yeah.
it doesn't happen as naturally. We have people that can score and whatnot, of course. Like Kara still scored 33 against Virginia Tech. Like she had a game. Tony Morgan had herself a game with 28 points in the game with on 11 of 20 shooting. But still, they yeah, Danny does something to this team that is what got it to that next level, that made them
Well,
able to kill teams.
and this team today looked a lot more like last year's. I was thinking,
Yes,
and,
yes,
and
yeah, yeah.
I didn't want to go into it with that thought because I that felt bad. Like there's more turnover than I think we give it credit for. But they played a little slower. There wasn't that sure bucket type
Right.
of play that you're talking about. And I do want to put this out there too. in the end, and I know there's some, late foul action type of stuff going on. Tony Morgan and Care Dunn both finished with 4 fouls.
Yeah,
Down your best scorer, and then your next two best scorers in some sort of trouble in some form or fashion. Yeah,
it was
I
dicey. It was
think,
dicey. They had to play chit
yeah,
chat right a lot down the stretch,
uh-huh.
which worked better than I think we gave it credit for. She's kind of been an in and out kind of girl, but she's
Kind of
been better.
streaky, yeah.
Yeah, she's been better today. She only had 5 shots. She had 10 points. She made a couple threes. Only person to make more than 1 3 on the team today, actually. Um,
Yep.
but ended up being stabilizing force what we needed. Something that wasn't perfect, but she was something. Kara Dunn
I
shot 8 of 10 today. She was just
Yeah.
all of her, and had a three. Basically, all of her shots were underneath the bucket, um, and had 4 rebounds.
I
But
I think
that was
one
huge.
one thing I do want to put out there again, you see it in the points in the paint difference. Louisville had 42, Tech had 30. Louisville, I'm gonna say names wrong, Jack. So if it comes
Go
to
ahead,
you,
you're fine.
post presence for Louisville. Oh my gosh, I should have written this down when I was thinking about it.
Oh, the Istanbul Iloglu girl,
Maybe, but they just have the size again.
pretty good.
I
Yeah,
think we've talked about that being something that Tech doesn't necessarily match up well against, and I
yep,
think that was was belied by this. So
yeah. No, we have Inez. I mean, not Inez. Sorry, Ari Termes at 6'6" is our tallest person that we're usually
yeah,
throwing in at center. But she's not. She's not a terribly physical center right now. Like she's not bumping into people as much. People are still able to
and
dance around her a little bit, and
I think
she's
it was Jalea Williams that I was thinking of,
okay.
but
Got it. Got it.
yeah,
And she was good too. She had 13 points. And had 7. Yeah, she had 7 rebounds. I think she led the game with in rebounds today. So yeah, that checks out. I mean, the big thing was here is that we had 16 turnovers. Louisville had 15. They had 22 points off turnovers to our 9 points off turnovers. We could not capitalize on those moments, and Louisville was just running away with that. And they beat us in the rebounding battle by 7 as well, including 11 offensive rebounds. So yeah, there was that. I think if we're gonna find one spot in the box to be like, okay, maybe that's why we lost the game. That's a big spot right there. We did not score field goal regulation in the final 4 minutes of this game,
yep,
despite the fact we got a couple. We got some free throws. We did pull it to within 6 late after being down 18 late in the third quarter. So we did make a pretty good run at the end there. But an 18-point run is still sizable, even if someone did come back from 32 points in a basketball game today. That wasn't us. Um, so it was I'm not surprised. I'm sad. I think there's nothing really to be super worried here. I would say at this point. I mean, being down Danny is gonna be that is as big of a asterisk as this team is ever gonna have, considering this
yep.
iteration of the team. And it is still early enough in the season where she can come back. Now it is a hamstring thing, so will she be 100% at all the rest of the season? Who knows? Probably the hamstrings suck. Probably not, because that's just what hamstrings are. So yeah, I think we'll be all right. That's all I'm saying.
Jack, I got a call back to a previous Jake historical records fact.
Okay.
Do you know what is distinctive about our all-time series against Louisville?
It's not good. It's actually the worst.
Yes, Georgia Tech women's basketball has never beaten Louisville.
Yep. 0 and 12.
0 and 12 all time. So
It's
just
not great. This was the day.
yeah,
This would have been a great day to do it. This is the best, probably the best team we've ever fielded against them to have a at least
yeah,
in terms of
yeah,
matchup
yeah.
to do it, and we just couldn't today. So, hey, maybe in
Well,
the tournament. Maybe in the tournament,
and
we'll see.
and I think that's to the point. Louisville played a tough schedule to open the year. I think they're kind of coming into their own based on a lot of factors. And I think my biggest takeaway from this week in general, minus Carnegie, I'm worried about the road game in Notre Dame, man. I
Yeah, I
think,
mean, we knew that was gonna be.
yeah,
We had our hope levels were not high going into that game, just as is. We have
yeah,
other big. We have a lot of our big ACC games this year, are thankfully, in McCamish, and this was the glaring exception. These two games were the glaring exceptions of like, okay,
yeah,
well, we don't have these two,
hmm
so if you lose them, it's these two in Miami are the three. Like, okay, so we'll see about those games, but the other ones got North Carolina State at home, got Duke at home.
yep,
Those
yep.
we got Florida State at home, which is big. Now we do have Cal on the road, and Cal has been ranked, so that's not great.
And
So
they
here,
kind of killed FSU today, by the way.
so that's yeah. So that might be a
Or they were
that
killing FSU, I should say.
right,
I don't
right.
know. Maybe
They
they
were
pulled a Pitt because Pitt was down by a lot,
Pitt
by
scored
32.
Pitt won a quarter 28 nothing today somehow.
Yes.
So it's
They
just
outscored
absolutely
SMU
bonkers.
54 to 10. That it's the biggest comeback win in women's basketball. So,
Absolutely bonkers.
um,
Crazy stuff. But anyways, yeah,
crazy
so
stuff indeed.
that Notre Dame game is next. That is on Thursday, the 16th in South Bend. If you're in South Bend, you should go to the game because Notre Dame basketball is amazing in the women's side. Tech next plays in McCamish a week from today. They're going to play Clemson at 2 o'clock that Sunday, which is sadly in the middle of NFL divisional playoff football, but we will be there because we like the Lady Jackets more than the NFL. And
Yeah,
that'll
I
be it
mean
until our next
that's
recording.
that's why I turned off the blowout playoff game. Well, it
Yeah, the
wasn't a
Bills.
blowout when I turned it on, but they really accelerated into the end of that. But
The Bills did make it easy. So,
what's the
yeah.
phrase? No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Callbacks. Anywho, with that, we'll take it over to our as scheduled intermission. As always, this podcast is brought to you by Section 103. Section 103 is the best place to find Georgia Tech apparel. We've talked about a lot of their new stuff. Coach Hoodie 2.0. We've talked about hats. Yeah, go check out your hats. But I just want to remind you, there's always new stuff coming out. So be sure to follow them on Twitter at Section 103, and also email, sign up, get those communications going in the event there are ever needs for flash sales, new releases, things like that. And as always, remember to vote. We haven't talked about that in a while. You can vote on what you want to see next from Section 103, and you can do that all at section103.com. As always, remember free shipping on orders over $80 every day, and tell them we sent you. Code FTRS for 10% off. Jack, what do we got next?
We have the 8-9 Georgia Tech men's basketball. They are now sub 500 after falling to Syracuse 62-55 and SMU 93-71.
That final is deceiving, by the
That
way.
is
I
a
want to put
distinct.
that right out on Front Street.
Let's put it this. This is the real. Not. I mean, obviously, there's an actual final score. This is what the final score really was. It was 50-19 after the first half of the SMU game.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the more representative surmised total at an end period within this game.
And before we get sucked into the vortex of that game, because that is the more significant one.
Yeah,
I would have liked to win at Syracuse, but I kind of get it. It's Carrier Dome. It's a weird place to play. It's a big venue.
yeah.
They're kind of evenly matched up teams. But I got two takeaways
Mm-hmm.
from this week. One is I haven't wanted to say it too much, but I really thought we'd be seeing more out of the Bai and Nate combo,
Mm-hmm.
particularly Bai and
Mm-hmm.
Dongo. He had 6 points. He's been in lots of foul trouble. Just doesn't seem to be clicking with those two the same way it was
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah.
But Syracuse game, Tech shot 27% from its free throws. How is that even possible? I put this in all caps in our
That's
in
as
our
you should have.
recap, and I don't usually get animated here. 27%, 3 for 11 from free throws. If you average 80%, the end of the game looks way different. You're
Yeah.
not, fouling and doing all that. Let's say you go 8 of 11. I think Tech probably wins this game just based on how the rest of the game plays out.
Right.
27.3% is ludicrous. It's ridiculous. Kevin Parada could go out there and shoot free throws
That's right.
at a higher clip than that. And I guarantee you probably couldn't put the basketball team out on a baseball diamond and have them hit above 273. Maybe it's
I
not a
agree.
fair comparison. I think I just slandered a lot of people, so let's maybe wind that back.
I think.
But I think the point
I'm gonna
stands.
leave. I'm gonna leave in your passion because I think you should. I think a
Okay.
lot of people share the passion there of just like, holy hell, it's a free throw. You got to be able to hit those in college. And to your point, that so the
That
27% adds up to 3 of 11. Only Lance Terry made free throws, and one,
that that
two,
was
three, four,
that was
five
our
guys.
whole point. That was
Yeah.
our big takeaway
Hmm.
last week. Akshay and I were like, the bit, say the line. We were saying the line, and then somehow it got way worse. So
Yeah.
yeah, you want that one back. I kind of get it. It's weird. It's coin flippy, but the free throw thing, I don't get.
Yeah. No.
Like that.
Yeah. I agree. We made four. We made one more 3-pointer in the game than we did at free throw, which was 4 threes. Lance Terry had uh he Lance Terry had 6 of the 7 made combined threes and free throws.
When you put it like that, Jack, that seems bad.
Nate George had the only other made three. He shot 1 of 7 from beyond the arc. Um,
4 of 21 is bad.
Also
Like
not good. Also
it's
not good. We led for 57 seconds in this game, and I'm guessing they were all on the front end of that game. Uh,
yeah.
Not great. Shot 36% as a whole from the field. But again, like it was the same story of kind of the SMU game. First half was just not good. 2 of 10 from three, only shot 29% from the field. Did not hit a single free throw. Only attempted one. Syracuse, on the other
And
hand, now here's the thing. Now
and yet
Syracuse, on the other hand, shot 23% in the first half, and we're up by
mhm.
one. Like it was a not great half going both ways, and they just did a little bit better at the in the end. Yeah, I could see how that was. This one's a game where you're like, okay, this is gettable if we just couldn't get out of our own way, which feels like a recurring problem now with this team. It's just not being able to put anything together with any consistent, with nowhere near enough consistency that even that they can't take
Yeah.
advantage of of another team's bad day. Good teams
And
can take advantage of those other bad days, and we are not at that level right now.
this is not your joining the ACC Syracuse level of execution either. This is a what the heck happened to these guys level of Syracuse men's basketball. To say nothing of, previous iterations of that
Right.
before even. But
They got
yeah.
Carmelo's kid coming. The cavalry's coming for them.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, not great there. This SMU game is where I started getting texts from people of like, what the hell's going on? Like, is this? Are we okay? Is this? Uh, it wasn't good. You can't score 19 points in a half. That's just you can't score less than a point per minute in a
Yeah.
basketball game. That's just outright
That's a
unacceptable.
spiritual quest for 40ing right there.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. They were shot they shot 29% in the first half. They only took 24 shots, which was 13 less than they took against Syracuse in the first half. They had 22 turnovers to SMU's 10, just feeding the ball away. Only had 2 steals the entire game. Duncan Powell had those. Duncan still had a half okay game with
Well,
13 points on 5
and
of 10 shooting, but
and I put
uh,
this in our shot sheet. I want to say, as goes Duncan, so goes his team. He had a quiet night against Syracuse, but going down by 31 in the first is not on one guy. That is not
yeah,
a,
yeah, that's
oh,
a
well, he had a tough night. No, 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 no.
yeah. If something's happening to one guy, you just sub him out, then you can plug and play as you
Yeah.
need. But no, this is a everyone the just bad vibes all around. It's just not good.
You can't let up 50% shooting from three.
No,
That is no
no,
bueno. 14 for 28, and also letting up at the same time 50% for the floor. It's not like you were making them sell out for the three. They were hitting shots at will.
yeah. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They had 9 guys hit a shot in this game. Um, That's a lot of guys. That's a lot of guys in a men's basketball game. We only played 8 guys in total. Suare played 15 minutes. Duncan played 33 minutes. JV McCollum played 32 off the bench. Jaden Mustaf only played 13 and he started. Matumbo only played 16 and he started. Ndonga only played 22 minutes. Again, just like the guys that need to show up and make this team relevant are not doing that with any consistency right now. And
It
um,
feels like we're doing less with more um,
yeah, I
on
think that's
this
fair.
team. And I feel like that's kind of an unusual, and this is a moderation of a take that I've been keeping on the back burner, and I'll leave it on the back burner. But I feel like in the past and in general, Georgia Tech teams that have been successful have made their bread and butter by doing more than less. Obviously, the
Hmm.
one thing everyone's going to point to when you say something like that is, Paul Johnson football teams. But I think Josh Pastner did that too. Nell
Yeah,
Fortner and even like a Michelle Josephs. Like those are programs that did more with less. I'm not going to say the flip side of any of those coins because I don't think that's fair.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I feel like this is a weird spot for a Georgia Tech like men's revenue high profile sport to be in. We're very much used to being you got to scrape and claw and do what you can, scheme up a difference. The Michelle Joseph's early Nell big defensive
Hmm.
like lock them down lineups really feels like that. If you want to use a
Yeah.
basketball analogy, or just Josh Pastner,
Right.
like a Pastner v Bennett game when it's like, each team's going to get like 8 total possessions and the final score
Yeah.
is going to be
Right.
6-4,
Right.
like
Yeah, there's not.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
you make a good point. There's nothing about. There's not like there's not a factor or a portion of this team that you could point to as like that. This is what This is what they can rest on and be good at
Yep. Yep.
consistently. They don't
There's no
have that.
baseline.
Yeah, there is. There. We don't. What this team at its core should look like. I don't know. I
Yeah.
can point to that across the rest of the school with most of the other teams. Softball, they've got much
Yeah.
better pitch. They got two great pitchers right now that can carry them a lot of innings. Baseball, they're going to out hit everyone as long as they possibly freaking can until the sun blows up. Swimming, uh, we will pull everyone from the country of Turkey until they run out of swimmers. Football, we're going to run
And
the
pray that you
ball.
have a diver or two to spice things up at the
That's
top,
exactly.
Yeah.
Football is gonna run the hell out of the ball nowadays and just have a damn good quarterback. It turns out. Volleyball turns out we have outside hitters that can touch the ceiling, according to Kurt Hoyt. Golf is going to find the tallest dudes and the slenderest dudes out there, and they're going to hit the ball 350 yards. Every team on this campus
The
has an
the
identity
the the
except for
the
this one.
the finest the Singaporean national army
Yeah,
armed forces have to offer,
Unless it's Hiroshi Tai, who is not 6 foot a million, but still a national champion,
Yeah.
still the most
No.
recent men's national champion. Unless
And and that's the thing is like, and that's why I think we can kind of leave this in a fair analytical sense. If there's clickbait ways to take this, but like
yeah,
there's just not a vibe. And I think I kind
yeah,
of said it as a joke like previously, like we don't have to perceive them right now. There's nothing to perceive. Like
yeah.
it's just not a team in a good spot, you
It
know?
doesn't feel like you
Like
learn anything like important watching them play right now outside of like okay. I mean, I guess at this point it's just like you learn where they are relative to other not great ACC teams. This has not been a fantastic ACC year up and down
mhm.
the board. So that's another way to take it. It's just like darn, in a year where the ACC wasn't amazing, we weren't helping or we didn't haven't been
Didn't
able to
take
find
advantage of
haven't
it,
been able
you
to find a
know?
way to take advantage. A lot of season left, of course, but uh,
All you got to do is win that last game, you know?
that's right.
But
That's right.
that's
That's
what
true.
NC State taught us last year. I'll try and end it on a
That
positive note.
you know that's a good point. That's a good point. You never know. You never know. We play Clemson on Tuesday at Cambridge. That's a 9 o'clock game. I hate that we play Clemson at 9 o'clock
Yeah.
ever. And then Saturday we are in Tallahassee playing Florida State. Nooner that will either be on ESPN2 or ESPNU.
They
That
like
is.
those Saturday game time decision type of slots, but go
Yeah, yeah.
figure.
Oh, both of our Clemson games this year at 9 o'clock. That's so
I know. I looked at the
what
road one
the
because
hell?
don't this is where I'll take a little bit of an aside. The Clemson like road basketball, baseball, softball experience is great because it's
Yeah, yeah.
drivable
Right
and you
there.
get to do all the stuff
Yeah,
without
yeah.
it being like 80,000 of your most orange clad friends,
And
you
they're
know?
nice. And they're nice people.
Yeah,
It's a good
for the
time.
most part.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So no, I feel you. That sucks. That's a Tuesday. Yeah, the next Clemson game's also the one in Clemson's also a Tuesday at 9 o'clock. So all right, not
Yeah.
going to that game. Anyways, let's go to swimming and diving. They did some things. We're back to swim season.
Yeah, they got kind of smoked by Auburn, but number 14 Auburn on the men's side, and number 19 Auburn on the women's side are both pretty good. It was a tri meet. Carson Newman was there as well. They show up on our swim schedule weirdly a lot. Go
They
figure.
do.
But luckily they took care of business in that one. The finals 204.5 to 96.5 on the men against Auburn and 216 to 84 on the women's side there. It would have looked worse without diving. Max Fowler really continuing his stellar year. Won
Mm-hmm.
both the 1 meter and the 3 meter, and Anna Bradescu won the 1 meter as well. That was
Nice.
half of Tech's event wins right there, came on the
Wow.
boards. So good job. Seems like there's always one. There's always at least one or two really high execution divers that Tech
Right.
manages to grab there. In terms of other notables, Uros Zivanovic, 100 breast win on the men's side, 52.7 there, as well as Berke Saka, 200 IM, 146.20. Phoebe Wright had the women's lone swimming event win, 200 back, 156.61. She's been pretty consistent all year. One to keep an eye on there. So do keep that in mind. And Tech hosts Duke this Friday and Saturday, a 2-day meet. Saturday, I think, is the part of that they're counting as senior day, but it's
Mhm.
I think the last regular season action that we'll see from them this year.
At least at home, looks like they got a South Carolina meet
Oh,
later in the
yep,
month that is in
yep.
Columbia before you get into first chances and all the other weird
That's a weird pool, but we
stuff.
don't have to talk about that right now.
Interesting. Good to know. I don't think I knew about that. So, anyways, Max Fowler out here just, being one of the best men's athletes on Tech's campus right now, as he is gone to be. Track and field. It says last was canceled. Or is this a leftover, or did we actually have something
They were
canceled?
supposed to go to Clemson this weekend, and then I went on the website today, and there was no trace of it, and so I assume Clemson just said, "We're icy, we're snowy. Don't risk the coming up the road. We'll see you in
Fair.
2 weeks because we go there like 4 times in
Yeah.
indoor season."
They
But
probably just wake up and just go to Clemson and just assume they have a track ready for us to go run on, and then there's someone there with the timer and a stopper, and go from they I don't know.
dude, between them and Vanderbilt, they spend the entirety of indoor season at one of the two. It feels
Well,
like
guess
a
where
lot
they're
of the
going
time.
next
So.
this weekend? They're going to Vanderbilt. So as on cue. So that'll
Hope they have a good hotel in Nashville. Much as we get concerned about the amount of time the swim program spends in Greensboro, sometimes hopefully they got places they like to stay there. We'll keep an eye on them. But really, between track and field and women's tennis, who also had a double postponement on Saturday, we really only have one other event to talk about to bring us home.
that is the case. Men's tennis finally back in action. The oft man, we hope they finally make the leap. Men's tennis got their start this for this the winter/spring season against Charlotte, the Charlotte 49ers, winning 5-2. Please, who are these men that would play tennis for us this year?
Yeah, I do want to flag 5-2 against a mid-major
That's a good
sometimes
point. Good point.
is a little concerning.
That should
But
be a 7-0. That should be
I
7-0.
do want to
That's right.
note Charlotte, not as bad as you think. They're
Oh,
actually at 66 in the opening
oh,
Massey
okay.
ratings, which I saw the 5-2 and I was like, I haven't checked Massey for these guys yet. Let me go dig that up. And we are good. 5-2 is very okay. Tech won the
All right.
doubles,
All right.
cleaned up, no biggie there. And in fact, they were tied on the court that didn't finish. So I would call that a pretty
All
solid
right.
solid showing there. And of note. Chris Aurora and Christophe Clement, Tech's top line doubles team is ranked 19th, and they've got
Oh,
a pairing, Nate Bonetto and Gianluca Carlini at number 44. So perceiving that for sure, good showing
good.
from the doubles there. And then also of note on the single side, Tech gained 4 points. All of Tech's wins were in two sets.
Good.
Actually, no, I lied.
Oh,
Court six went to three. So
ah,
whoops. But that was the last court to finish. So we'll give them some grace. The ones that took Tech to 4-0 did all go two sets. Christophe Clement on court two, 6-2, 6-4 win, and Gabrielle Brancatelli on court three, a 6-0, 6-1. Those are the kind of numbers you like to see.
yeah.
I'd put that out there. This is going to be a team with a lot of new names, or at least names we maybe haven't talked about quite as much.
Hmm.
In the past. That being said, preseason prognostication has slotted him in right around number 37 in the national Massey ratings, which I like because he rates everyone, which makes it a little bit rare for tennis and more useful for us in terms of just kind of figuring out where a tech team stands.
Hmm.
37 is kind of consistent with where they've been, so that'd be good to see, and just kind of assuming 2 to 3 seed in the tournament level of talent is the underlying factor there, and now it's time to go win the matches, I guess.
Yeah, this is the. I guess we never really did a technical tennis preview on both ends, but this team is without Keshav Chopra, Andres Martin, and Marcus McDaniel,
Yep.
the three guys that were pretty much leading this team last year. After we were like, how do these guys still have
Last
eligibility?
year. They've been
Yeah,
they've been leading the team since I was an
I
undergrad,
know
man.
that's right. They've been here forever, and so this is the first year post the great Andres Martin run, and
Yeah.
so yeah, this will we'll see who. I guess once we, especially once we get to ACC play, we'll see who ends up being the main top line guys, who's getting that number one singles line and stuff like that.
So one thing I want to bring back for this spring season, I used to do it in the written form when I had infinite amount of time as an undergrad, but a kind of like game of the week plug.
Mm,
It makes the most sense in the spring. I feel
yeah,
like
yeah, definitely.
fall, you got football, volleyball, and maybe some cross country or swimming or something like that. In the spring, there's so much going on. There's so many different teams, and they're all playing like on a softball invite weekend.
Yeah,
Softball could be playing like five different teams. Who's good? What's going on?
yeah.
My game of the week coming up, and because there are four women's tennis matches, we've got four basketball between the men and the women. We got the swim meet. I wanna, I wanna make the case, Jack, for going on the road to Tuscaloosa.
Hmm.
Men's tennis plays at Alabama.
Mm,
They're currently number 32 in the country, again, by Massey is our rating there. Saturday at noon. That's a team that theoretically matches up perfectly with Georgia Tech, at least in terms
okay.
of that kind of raw preseason prognostication, raw
Hmm.
talent. I think that'll tell us a lot. I'm excited. I completely forgot that this was this early on the schedule, and if they go over there and look good or lose close, maybe that kind of backs up a little bit with what we're saying, kind of like that
Yeah,
2 3 seed, good neighborhood, good get the feel of these new guys type of
good.
situation.
Good to know. I'm looking at the women's schedule, and I do see their ITA kickoff weekend is supposed to be in Malibu, and I really hope they're still able to pull that off, considering things have not been going. I know a lot of houses have burned down in Malibu recently, so I know they haven't announced anything on that, but I'll be curious if the schedule changes at all, or if they just relocate. Probably can relocate somewhere else nearby in that area, just because there's a tennis courts by the
Honestly,
billion down there in Los Angeles area. So
I ITA
we'll
really
see.
likes buyers too. It wouldn't be completely unheard of to say, hey, Pepperdine, come on over here type of
Yeah,
thing.
because Florida State's the other team we're playing in that as well. So it's like that's not a
Yeah.
hard crawl for them. So I could totally understand that move if they want to do that.
So
Who else?
many interwoven links between Pepperdine and Tech tennis, but we don't have to get in that right
I
now.
know, I
But
know. Let's see. Who else do the
uh,
women play this year? They got Illinois. They got Northwestern, Bama. We go to
yep.
Bama too with them as well. South Carolina's coming to town before the ACC. So like, all right, that's fun.
And you
And
get the Stanford Cal kind of fleshes out the ACC slate a little bit. It been a little sparse since Pitt dropped women's tennis, and
yeah.
not everyone sponsors it. So I
Well, we
whereas
don't
like in
play them.
bas
We don't play either of them. We play SM. Both teams
really.
will play SMU, but we have avoided Stanford and Cal on both the men's and women's teams this year for the ACC schedule.
Hey, like I think that even furthers my point with women's basketball, men's basketball, football feels so crowded, but it's kind of refreshing to have a slightly bigger ACC. I
Yeah,
don't know. I haven't workshopped this take at all. Maybe it's
I
crazy.
get your point. Well, we still have to play Duke and North Carolina. So, anyways, uh, we haven't avoided
and we
everybody.
and we augment them with two great teams from the West Coast. Good. The
Yes,
hardest
yes.
conference in tennis just got harder.
That's
Delightful.
this is what we knew was going to happen. All right, you got anything
Yeah.
else? I'm out of stuff here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've got nothing too much on miscellaneous club sports news, notes, anything like that. We'll hopefully in a week or two look to bring back the historical notes. I've really done a lot of like the ones that make a lot of sense. I feel like so. I
Hmm.
don't know. Maybe I gotta dig back into the works there. We got a good matchup coming up, but I think that covers it. I'm trying to think. Hope everyone stayed warm, stayed dry, stayed
Oh, I will
having
note.
power and water and all
And I'll
that,
I'll do a quick snow on Tech's campus bit because I did walk
Ooh,
around on
okay.
Friday and the powder was very good on campus. The snowballs were flying. There was a
Yeah.
couple of good big old 8 foot snowmen on Tech Green that people were literally in line to take pictures with. There were some very good little not igloos but like walled up snow walls for defense against snowballs.
It was good snow.
It was very good. It was very good.
As something of a snow connoisseur myself, no, like got the big flakes. It wasn't just turning to slop as soon as it
Exactly.
hit.
Yeah.
It was,
Sat
it was a
Friday
good day
morning.
to hole up and walk around too.
Yeah,
So
Friday morning was very good. Yeah, it was. This is easily the best on campus snow we've had since 2017.
Yeah.
And it was the sledding was going on at the Burger Bowl, like I had, like remember what I did when I was when I was a freshman back then. People were everywhere.
I was on the Daily Digest header image that day,
Oh,
going down the
fun,
hill. Uh-huh.
fun,
Uh-huh.
nice.
We still have that around here somewhere. That's a
That's
good
nice.
throwback. Yeah.
Campus was beautiful. They kept the Campanile fountain on so that it wouldn't freeze. So that was kind of cool to see the fountain still going at that time of day. But I got some very good pictures around campus. Tech Tower, of course, looked majestic in the wintry delight. I wish someone had
Snow
told
looks
me.
good on that building all the
So
time.
it does.
Yeah.
It does. Someone told me about a story when they were at Tech in the '80s. How when it snowed back then, they went down to Grant Field and played flag football or like tackle football on Grant Field because you could just walk in back then, and how it was just
Yep.
super painful, but the best thing ever to play
Oh
snow
yeah.
football on the field. That would have been that would have been really cool if people got to go down there. I don't know if anyone did anything on the field down there, but I feel like some snowmen or something on Grant Field would have been a nice little photo op that I never got to see. So,
Those horrible rubber pellets though. It'd be a
well,
very chunky. It'd be
you,
a
you
cookies and
make
cream snowman,
a
you
good
know?
point. You make a good point. Someone did roll a very large snowball in the sack fields, and it was black.
Yep.
It was not a good looking snowball at all. That thing was like, oh, that's okay. That's a little dirty. I can see why people weren't exactly using the sack fields compared
The
to other places.
I remember one year it snowed and somebody did that and it all melted into a giant pile of rubber in one
Uh,
spot. And I knew the
I,
guy who was raking out the field a year or two later, and he's like, "Yeah, that was a terrible day," or something to that effect, you
I
know.
imagine it might be looking like that tomorrow once more of it gets melted down. So I know there's still plenty to get melted down. Okay, I think that's
Yeah.
it.
Anyway,
That's snow
yep.
corner.
Snow corner.
We'll have it again in 10 years next time it snows here.
And in the meantime, segue, you can find us at fromtherumbleseat.com. Email us at fromtherumbleseat@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter or Blue Sky at FTRS blog, FTRS blog, Blue Sky, that whole dealio. I'm over there for the most part. Jack is at Jack Nicholas on Twitter. You can find Section 103 at Section 103 at Twitter as well. Section103.com. Check them out there. You can find us from the Rumble Seat on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And you can find this podcast. Well, you already found it, but tell your friends where to find it too, anywhere fine podcasts are distributed. In the meantime, we'll talk to you soon. Good night, good luck, and go Jackets.